Alright, so today I want to introduce you to the Orange Dream ball python. And if you're not familiar with the Orange Dream, let me tell you, it probably has the most potential of any morph in the ball python industry. I've seen some stuff with Orange Dream that is going to totally blow your mind. They are snakes like you have never seen before. And I would say as a standalone morph, the Orange Dream is not that impressive. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of Orange Dreams out there that you set them right next to a normal and you almost can't even tell that it's Orange Dream. It's hard to tell the difference between an Orange Dream and a normal. And the funny thing is if you actually mix it with pastel, I've seen some people say that even just a straight pastel will sometimes mask the Orange Dream underneath the pastel. But let me tell you, if you mix it with the right genes, it explodes into a visually impressive snake, like a snake you have never seen before. So today I want to show you the impressive potential of the Orange Dream. Alright, so I'm going to start over here on the world of ball pythons, and this is what an Orange Dream looks like. And as a matter of fact, I was scrolling through some of these pictures and you can notice probably right away that there are quite a few variations just in the base morph of Orange Dream. As a matter of fact, there are several lines of Orange Dream. There's one that is really high intensity. Now let me tell you, if you want to get into Orange Dream, you want to buy the high intensity line of Orange Dream, you're probably going to pay almost 10 times as much as a low intensity line of Orange Dream. It's pretty amazing the difference between the high intensity and the low intensity. And I would say most of the snakes that I've seen over on Morph Market are probably a low intensity line of Orange Dream starting at a pretty reasonable price. But let me tell you, if you want to get the high intensity, you probably are going to spend quite a bit of money to get into the project. So there's actually a super Orange Dream, and I'd say really the Orange Dream excels when you have the super form of the Orange Dream. It's actually 2 copies of the gene. It's a co-dominant morph, and you mix that with certain morphs on top of the super Orange Dream, and you can get some pretty amazing combos. Even the super Orange Dream, you can tell, like this one right here is a really high intensity line of super Orange Dream. You start mixing it with other combos, and let me tell you, you get some snakes like you have never seen before. It's pretty amazing. And I'll actually bring you over to Morph Market at the end and we'll look at some low intensity lines. And let me tell you, the difference is night and day between the 2 different lines of Orange Dream. So what I want to do is I want to kind of walk you through some of the base morphs, and I would say Yellow Belly is one of the ones that mixes really well with Orange Dream. It really shines when it mixes with Yellow Belly. Yellow Belly, I would say, is a really subtle morph. You really can't tell, almost can't tell the difference between a Yellow Belly and a normal. It's that subtle. But I'd say Yellow Belly mixes really well with a lot of genes to bring out the color and the contrast on a lot of different morphs. And here's what happens when you mix Orange Dream with Yellow Belly. You get a really impressive snake. It really cleans it up, brings out the contrast, and it really makes a really bright orange kind of a yellow snake. It is pretty impressive. And then I also throw on a few more genes that are not quite as impressive. You can kind of get a feel for the pros and the cons of the Orange Dream, mixing them with different snakes. This is actually the butter. The butter is essentially the same thing as a lesser. It's a different line of lesser. I actually have a couple lesser females in my collection. Breed them every year. I actually hit the scaleless head lesser this year, which is pretty cool. You breed the butter with the Orange Dream, and here's what you get. You actually can see on this snake, it actually brings out some of the contrast in the intensity a little bit, but I would say it's not that dramatic of an impact. And I would say a lot of these, it's kind of hard to tell if you really have a high intensity line of Orange Dream or if it's one of the more subtle lines of the Orange Dream. So this is actually a champagne. I'd say champagne is kind of a hard sell. It really is tough to mix champagne with other morphs. Usually what you get is just a different color of pretty much a washed out snake when you're talking about champagnes. I always like to throw champagne in the mix because I do know a few people who are actually working on champagnes. It's always interesting to see how it mixes with some of these other combos. So this is actually an Orange Dream champagne. As a matter of fact, it mixes quite well with the champagne. You can see there's just two pictures here, and a lot of times you actually won't see any patterns in the champagne. Sometimes you get a line down the top, sometimes you get spots, but most of the times I'd say it's completely washed out. And take a look at this. This is another potential with the champagne. If you actually mix the Super Orange Dream with the champagne, this is where the champagne really shines when you mix it with the Super Orange Dream. I'd say if you're talking Orange Dream, I'd say in most cases it's the Super Orange Dream that you're going to find really impressive versus just the one copy of the regular Orange Dream. So the Axanthic's pretty interesting. The Axanthic is a recessive morph. It makes some really impressive combos. There's some people that are just specializing just in Axanthics. It's a pretty awesome morph. And it's essentially what it does, it strips away all the color and you're left with black and silver and white. It's a pretty awesome morph. You mix it with Orange Dream and take a look at this. You can actually see the Orange Dream starting to break through the Axanthic a little bit, which I thought was kind of interesting. Here is the spot nose. I say the spot nose works really well when you mix it with the clown. There's some really interesting things you can do with the spot nose. You actually breed two spot noses together. You get the super spot nose, which is called the Powerball, which is a really interesting snake. You mix the spot nose with the Orange Dream, and you can see there's just one picture here, but you can definitely tell it mixes pretty well, spot nose and Orange Dream. You got some of the orange coming out, kind of really sharpens and intensifies the contrast of the snake. That's pretty interesting. Here's the leopard. Now I'd say the leopard really shines when you mix it with almost any combo. It's pretty much the king of combos, hands down, as far as a co-dominant morph. You mix the leopard with the Orange Dream, it actually mixes really well. You get some interesting combos with the Orange Dream and the leopard. It really changes the pattern and increases the contrast and the intensity when you mix them two together. I'd say leopard is really kind of one of the building blocks of making a really intense Orange Dream combo. The Mojave is kind of interesting. The Mojave's in the blue-eyed leucistic. You actually breed two Mojaves together. You get an all-white snake with blue eyes. It's probably one of the most popular morphs in the ball python industry. You mix it with Orange Dream and you get a pretty impressive snake, a Mojave Orange Dream. I really like how it completely changes the snake. It's really pretty awesome mixing the two together. I'd say the Orange Dream really works well with the Mojave. Here's the banana, and actually the banana is such a visually dominant morph. You actually mix in Orange Dream with the banana and you really can't even tell that Orange Dream is in the banana. It's kind of the same with the pastel. It almost dominates the Orange Dream where you can't even tell if it's in there or not. Here's the pinstripe. The pinstripe's one of my favorite combo base morphs, and actually it works pretty good with the Orange Dream. You mix it with the Orange Dream and take a look at this. This is pretty impressive. You actually get a pinstripe that looks pretty orange, so it actually has quite an effect when you mix it with pinstripe. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of bringing Orange Dream into my collection, and you haven't seen anything yet. This is just kind of the basic building blocks with just a single copy of the Orange Dream. And let me tell you, once we get up into the Super Orange Dream stuff, it's gonna really blow you away. So here is the calico. As a matter of fact, I just did a video on the calico. The calico brings up the whites on the sides of the snakes. Sometimes it brings up a lot of white, sometimes it brings just a little white. You mix that with the Orange Dream and you get a really impressive snake. I would say the calico and the Orange Dream, probably one of the best combos that I've seen so far with just a single copy of the Orange Dream. So here is the spider. I'd say probably spider works pretty much between the spider and the yellow belly. I would say it probably works the best with Orange Dream. This is just the base morph spider. The interesting thing about spider is it almost looks like it has multiple genes in there. Almost looks like it has calico, but it's actually part of the spider morph. Really impressive standalone morph. And take a look at this. When you mix the spider with the Orange Dream, you get a pretty impressive snake. You can actually see quite a bit of orange coming out. It drastically changes the spider in there. And take a look at this. This is gonna actually blow you away. This is the Orange Dream Spider Yellow Belly. So I decided actually to show you what actually happens when we start layering more genes that really work well on top of the Orange Dream, so you can actually see the ultimate potential of what the Orange Dream can do. So if you mix Orange Dream, works really well with Spider, works really well with Yellow Belly, and take a look at this. It's continually improving the appearance of the snake. And we actually can go one step further than that. This is gonna blow you away. Take a look at this. This is the Spider Super Orange Dream. This is like no snake I've ever seen. As a matter of fact, if you look at some YouTube videos of people actually handling the snake, let me tell you, this is not a Photoshop snake. It is super impressive. Even on some really bad YouTube videos, you can tell that it's still just so impressive. It's pretty amazing. And believe it or not, we can actually improve upon this snake. So take a look at this. This is actually the Super Dream Beast. So this is the Super Orange Dream Spider Yellow Belly, which is pretty impressive. It's interesting how it actually brings up more of the white on the sides, kind of reduces the pattern, and the color on these snakes and the contrast is just like nothing I've ever seen. To actually see these in person, it is unbelievable. So actually I went one step further. So we took the Super Orange Dream Spider Yellow Belly and we added fire on top of it. Look what happens when you add fire. It just keeps getting better and better and better. It's just some of these snakes. I've actually seen whole collections of people working Super Orange Dream, Spider, Fire, and Yellow Belly into a lot of their snakes. And let me tell you, their snakes look so phenomenal. It is unbelievable. So here's another one. This is actually the Spider Super Orange Dream with the pinstripe. One of my favorite genes, the pinstripe, added on top of the Super Orange Dream and the Spider. And it seems like it really excels really well with the Spider. And I know a lot of people shy away from the Spider because of the potential head wobble. Well, let me tell you, if you mix it with the Super Orange Dream, you get some impressive combos like I have never seen before. So I thought this was kind of interesting. So this is actually the Super Orange Dream into the pied. So it's actually a super and a recessive in the same snake. And it's almost really, to me, this almost, the closest thing I can come to for something like this almost looks like the Ultramel pied. I don't know if you've ever seen the Ultramel pied. It almost looked the same as this. And then I actually found this over here. This is the Orange Dream pied Yellow Belly, which is just as impressive. And the funny thing is, this is not the Super Orange Dream. This is just one copy of the Orange Dream plus the Yellow Belly in with the pied. And it's kind of amazing how intense the orange is in this snake. This is pretty unbelievable. You start mixing Orange Dreams, even a single copy, into the pied with the Yellow Belly, and you get some pretty amazing combos. Here's another one that was really interesting. This is the Enchi Orange Dream Pastel Pinstripe Yellow Belly. So you know we're actually doing Orange Dream. This is just one copy of the Orange Dream. It's not the Super. We're actually mixing in the Pastel and the Yellow Belly, and the Pinstripe works really well. And then the Enchi on top of that, the Enchi works really well. So this is everything that really complements the Orange Dream. So you really only need one copy of the Orange Dream. You don't really need the Super. And look at how impressive this snake is. This is, and as a matter of fact, this snake looks like it has a little bit of age on it, still keeping the intensity and the brightness with age. I've actually seen some Super Orange Dream and Orange Dream combos that were full-grown adults, and sometimes you see snakes like this that kind of fade over time. Let me tell you, some of these combos as adults, they are just as impressive as the hatchlings. So I wanted to come over here on Morph Market just to kind of give you an idea of some of the really high intensity lines of the Orange Dream and the Super Orange Dream mixed with some combos. And I kind of wanted to show you some of the pricing for the really high end stuff, and then the prices on the really kind of the low end, kind of the low intensity lines of the Orange Dream and the Super Orange Dream. So take a look at this. This is actually the high intensity Super Orange Dream just with the fire. So this is is pretty incredible. Just the two genes together, Super Orange Dream and Fire. And this is the high intensity line, so you know you're gonna pay some pretty big money for this one. This one's actually $3,500. It is pretty incredible. It's an incredible snake, and it's an incredible price for that snake too. So take a look at this. This is the Super Orange Dream Enchi Banana Het Pied. And this is, you can tell it's a really intense line of the Super Orange Dream. But this, let me tell you, this picture does not do the snake justice. It is just kind of faded out. You can tell it is a really intense snake. This one actually it's actually still for sale in 2019 for $3,000. Pretty incredible prices on some of this high intensity stuff. Here's another one, the Super Orange Dream Yellow Belly Black Pastel Banana. That is a lot of genes in one snake. And you can tell the black pastel really darkens the gene. Super Orange Dream really brings out the intensity of the darkness. I really like that. This one actually sold, it was actually in 2018, last year, sold for $3,000. Pretty incredible. Here's another one. I thought this was kind of interesting. So this is actually one gene of the high intensity Orange Dream, one gene of the regular Orange Dream. So you can see actually people took two different lines of Orange Dream, bred them together, formed the Super Orange Dream, but this Super actually contains a high intensity line and a low intensity line. So if you actually bred this to another snake, half the babies would come out high intensity, half the babies would come out low intensity. I thought that was kind of an interesting anomaly that people are actually distinguishing the two different lines. And it also has Enchi, Vanilla, and Yellow Belly in the mix. And this one is actually $2,500. It's coming down a little bit. It's a really impressive snake. Even with the low intensity line, it's still holding its price really well. So take a look at this. This is the Super Orange Dream Leopard. Just the leopard on top of the Super Orange Dream. And if you actually look through some of these pictures, it's pretty amazing. Just the snake on newspaper, which isn't probably the best for pictures, but you can tell even just on newspaper, it is really an intense, bright snake. That is pretty incredible. This one actually sold last year for $1,500. It's getting a little more reasonable. I usually like to kind of limit my purchases to about $1,500. That's pretty much my price range when it comes to buying new snakes. This is actually a Super Orange Dream Enchi Mojave. Look at that snake. That is like nothing I've ever seen before. And of course it has the Super Orange Dream in the mix. Anytime you have the Super Orange Dream, especially if it's high intensity, it always makes for a really impressive snake. This one's actually sold for $1,400. And then take a look at this. This is the Super Orange Dream Fire Yellow Belly. So you know the fire and the yellow belly really complement the Super Orange Dream. And the funny thing is a lot of these have some really crazy head stamps. And a lot of people actually can identify what genes are in the mix by the patterns on the head in a lot of combos where they have head stamps. This is probably one of the snakes that I'd be interested in. It is so bright and intense. It is pretty amazing. This one is actually $1,250. Hey, that's coming down almost in my price range. If I wouldn't have bought a couple snakes that were really high dollar this year, I'd probably invest in a project like this. But I pretty much used up my budget for buying snakes for the year. And I wanted to bring you over here to Morph Market and just look at the Super Orange Dream. There's actually been 385 snakes that have Super Orange Dream. It's pretty amazing. These are the ones that are for sale and have sold. And if you kind of look at the highest prices, this one actually sold for $7,000, a 2019. So it's actually this year selling for big money, these Super Orange Dream combos. It's pretty amazing. And I actually came over here and pretty much did the same sort with just the ones for sale. If you're interested in a Super Orange Dream, what the lowest price is, this is actually $375. But keep in mind that a lot of these on the low end, you could tell, I mean, these are the same Super Orange Dreams we were looking at, but these are the low intensity line. You can definitely tell there's a huge difference. I mean, just by looking at the pictures, you can tell it's like, is that really a Super Orange Dream or not? You can definitely tell there's a huge difference between the lines. And sometimes you can really, pick up some good deals if you can find a really high intensity at a really low price. Sometimes you can really find a killer deal. All right, so it is time for the question of the day. And Ken's Kaz asks, as a vendor at the reptile shows, does it bother you when people want to hold your snakes? And that is a very good question. I would say in most cases, I actually encourage people to hold my snakes. And I would say if you're thinking about buying a snake and you actually come up to the table, it's a completely different experience looking at a snake behind the glass and actually holding one in your hands and letting it crawl all over you like Bobby here. Let me tell you, it is a pretty amazing experience to actually hold and handle a really super tame, super friendly snake. And I would say a lot of people that actually come up to my table at the reptile shows have never ever held a snake before, and a lot of times you'll see the fear in their eyes, and then you hand them a snake and they're just like paralyzed, and you see the fear just kind of drain from their face, and they're just like almost dumbfounded. They're just like, wow, this is actually a really cool animal. It's pretty amazing to actually see brand new snake handlers handle a snake for the very first time. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.